Try to do that every day. Kick you out, make you get some air, get some water, come back in. It just makes thinking easier. Everybody, like I said, everybody learns differently, but everybody also gets tired pretty uniformly. It is warm in here. I'll get the fans going, or the fan. We used to have two. One disappeared. We'll get that going. If you need, you guys can turn that on if you need it to. Make the room comfortable for yourselves. Make it comfortable. Make learning not suffering. Okay, so I think we were in the syllabus page, right, talking about quizzes. So that's the primer quiz. Suppose you open it up later and you don't want to do it. You have to. No. You have to do 10 by the end. You don't have to do this one. The other quiz, somebody asked for the website quiz. Just a real quick look at the website quiz. The website quiz is not really a math quiz at all. It's on the first day of class, I read the syllabus for the most part, like that video set that I sent to you. And then there was on the syllabus videos, there was a page called Rules Hints. It's now called Frequently Asked Questions. I didn't update the video yet, I apologize. By the time I get to there, students don't want to hear me talk anymore. So I said, you know what? I made a quiz on that page instead. So this quiz, this website quiz, is actually a true-false quiz about the Frequently Asked Questions page. So if you want to do this quiz, just open up a Word document or a blank piece of paper, crack open the Frequently Asked Questions page, and answer these questions by looking at that page. That's kind of like the thou shalt not page. You know, don't do this, don't do this. I hate that crap. I mean, it feels like religion, and I don't want to be like dictating to you like that. But at the same time, I have to have it in there. I mean, some of these questions you can probably answer right now, honestly, by what we've talked about in class already. And it does count against your 10, so by all means, go ahead and try it if you want to. Cool? That's quizzes. Quizzes are the weirdest. Wait. Who asked the question about bombing the quiz? Thank you, Joe. Thank you, thank you. Joseph? Joe? Joseph. Joseph, we got it. So Joseph asked the question about what happens if I bomb a quiz, right? So what happens if we're marching along and we're 10, 10, 10, and all of a sudden we get a 10, let's say we get a 0. Let's just make it the worst case scenario. First of all, if you submit a quiz, it counts, first of all. Secondly, I have these things, you may have found them, called rainy day coupons. I don't want to talk about them much right now, just a little bit. But this is exactly what this fixes, Joseph. So if this happens to you, what I will start doing in about week 7 or 8 or 9 of the course is I'll start reminding you all that rainy day coupons exist. Everybody, if you would, go to the schedule page, if you're not already there. At the very top is a link for rainy day coupons. I understand if you missed it, it's one more yellow box on a page of yellow boxes. Jesus. Now, these look like literal coupons that you would cut out, because back in the day, before I used Blackboard, you would have to actually print these out and cut them out and staple them to things, like a coupon. Since I do things digitally, well, okay, I'm also Italian, and me and my grandma, when I was really tiny, we used to clip coupons together, and it makes me think of that. So I left the cutouts. You don't have to cut anything out anymore. Yeah, you apply it automatically. The rainy day quiz coupon is just like the rainy day project coupon, which is just like the rainy day exam coupon. You get one coupon for each of 1 assessments. What they are is a way of getting points back on an assessment. So if that 0 out of 10 happened to you, Joseph, by the end of the term, you will do this coupon, which has the same checklist as the exam coupon. What you do is, you submit to me, you take a picture of the quiz you're going to correct. You then show me, probably a screenshot or a cell phone picture on a document of what you did wrong. Then you correct it. You do it correctly. So you do the math right. That's the first 3 checkboxes. We'll go through the more detail later. This is very quick right now, but just to put your mind at ease, Joseph. Then you write a couple sentences. Tell me about what you made, what mistakes you made the first time, and then tell me what you learned by doing it again the next time. This serves at least 2 purposes for me as your math teacher. Number 1, it changes that 0 to a 10, which helps your grade, of course, right? Number 1. Number 2, it helps your grade more than if I just did this. Convince yourself of this mathematically. If you don't believe it, trust me. But if you don't want to trust me, convince yourself. This is less than this. Number 2, helps your grade. Oh, there's 3 things actually. Number 3, by making you write about your learning experience, you'll learn better. Well, that makes sense too. So there's at least 3 things, probably even more that I'm not thinking of. So Joseph, just don't bomb 2 quizzes. Yeah. If you're going to bomb any quizzes, bomb at most 1. Most students don't bomb any, because the thing about it is, You're working together. Back to the working together thing, Bree, which I love, by the way. I love when students work together. I encourage you to form study groups. There I am, look at me. There I am right there. Yay. That should be volume. I don't know what this is kind of surreal, actually. I want you to work together, but you all have to submit individual work. Which means, what I don't want to see happening, and this is very easy to do, is like 4 people in a study group where one's doing all the typing. And then they email that to 3 people and you all submit the same document. Don't do that. You each have to do. Because so much of what this class is doing. Creating a graph, going and finding research, taking screenshots, dropping things in, collating. The collaboration is important, but you each have to be doing part of the collaboration. The main reason, though, I like the collaboration idea, and these are not my words. I've always known this to be true, but 3 ladies in my 243 class last term brought this up, and I actually included it in one of your second project. You'll see this the math behind their idea. They said the chance of all 3 of us getting something wrong is basically 0, which means the chance of at least one of us getting it right and being able to explain it to the others approaches 100%. And I was so proud of that. I'm like, oh my God, like that's 100% correct. Because even if, say for example, you're 80% sure about a problem, right? Well, that means if you turn it in 5 times, 4 out of 5 times you'll get it right, 1 time you'll get it wrong. But if you combine with 3 other people who are 80% sure about a problem and you work together, your combined probability goes above 80% that at least one of you will know what's going on at any given time. That might seem counterintuitive, but that's part of this class's beauty, is that it breaks those ideas down. And that's your second project. We'll come back to projects in a second too. So Bree, hopefully that answers your question about working together. If it didn't, ask me again. Or is that pretty solid? Awesome. Such a good question. I don't make you work with other people if you don't want to. You don't have to. But by all means, feel free. I think learning should happen collaboratively, because it's kind of how we live our lives. Except for those times when you're out in the woods by yourself, which is totally fine. Go skiing in the snow by yourself, that's totally fine. But as far as getting things done, working with other people is such a wonderfully rich way of getting ideas across. Sometimes you all explain stuff to yourselves better than I do. I learn from listening to you sometimes. That's great. So, just my opinion. But you can totally ignore and just work by yourselves too. That's totally fine. Cool so far? I mentioned projects. Projects are did anybody see any floating around on the schedule page? They're all posted. They are all posted on the schedule page if you take a look. The first one's in week 3. It's down here, basic probability. The next one's in week 6. It's called joint probability. That's the one where the girl's idea from last class comes in with the we work together because seems she's so happy. The third one is in, I believe, in week 8. Yep, there it is, super counting. Woohoo! And the last one is false positives, false negatives in week 10. They're already posted. They are fairly self-guided. They tie to class. They've got 1 foot in class ideas and 1 foot outside of class ideas. Just to give you an example, the last one there, that Bays, started life when my neighbor across the street, this is at least 10 years ago, was pregnant with their first child and freaked out because she had just gotten an amniocentesis draw that came back positive for Down syndrome. And I asked her 2 questions. I said, number 1, are you at risk for Downs, or is your family at risk for Downs? She said no. And I'm like, question number 2, would you be willing to sit down and do some math with me to talk about this? She says, yes. And we did. And that's where that project became. False positives, false negatives, true positives, true negatives. Turns out it was a false positive. Daughter's absolutely fine. Running around with my son yesterday. I actually pulled her around on a sled with my fat bike around the neighborhood like 3 times yesterday. Whipped her to snowbanks. Totally fine. Totally fine. Do it faster! Okay, my leg's killing me. But anyway, the point is that false positives exist. False negatives exist. That project teaches you how to deal with it. So it's got 1 foot in this class, and that is probability. It's contingency tables. It's collecting data. The other foot outside of the class, nobody told me how to teach about false positives and false negatives, but I think it's pretty damn important. If my neighbor across the street is talking to me about it, chances are somebody else is going to be talking to you about it. That's what projects are. They're already posted for the entire term. You can crack open, anybody cracked open project number 1 yet? It's okay, I didn't expect you to. You can. You can, anytime, crack it open, start working on it. It's just like a quiz. You're going to open up like a blank piece of paper and work in there. Okay? If you have to type goofy math, just make do with do it like you did with your old TI. You guys ever use TI 83s, 84s? We're not going to use them in here, but remember how it all looked on a TI? It was all like on a single line. Like if you had to do something like this, if you had to write this on a TI, you had to do something like this. 5 plus 5 plus that, divided by parentheses 5 plus 5 plus, remember that? Just type it out like that. Or if you're feeling fancy, email me, and I'll send you a link to this thing called LaTeX, or LaTeX, I forget how you pronounce it. It's an online equation editor that you can type math symbols. It's not, you won't have to do it very often, honestly. You won't have to do it very often, at all. But it's mostly communication in this class, mostly verbal. You're typing sentences out for the most part. Occasionally numbers, but the numbers will be simple enough to get the idea across. Okay, so far? Hopefully making sense. Hopefully making sense. So that's projects. They're scattered throughout the term. They're 25 points a pop. 25 points a pop. So just stay on top of those. Those aren't optional. You got, well, you can make them optional, but they're easy to grade that way. I don't want to give you a 0 though. So make sure you stay on top of those bad boys and do those. Last thing is exams, and that's a terrible name because they probably struck fear in your heart. Exams are like everything else. Back on the assessment page here. They're down here. The exams, there's 2 of them. I have one in week 5, which I will upload by the end of next week. And I've got one that's due in week 11, which I will upload somewhere in week 7. Now when I say upload, it means you're not going to come into this classroom and do the exam here while I'm staring to make sure you're not cheating. I hope you are cheating. Because what everybody else calls cheating, I call collaboration. I want you to work with each other if you want to work with each other, using resources. I will actually tell you to go online and look for stuff. Go to this page, go find this data set. I'll give you clues on how to find it. I want you to go find it. Okay? People call that cheating, I call it collaboration. But the thing about it is I will post it weeks ahead of time so you have plenty of time to work on it. Jordan, anything you want to add to this about exams, projects, quizzes, anything from having me before? Anything at all you want to add?
Well, they're great working together, and also the tutoring